Okay, so now we're going to look at the clip part, which is the white part, and without the orange decorative piece, we got the clip, and then we got some threading on there as well. We got some different sizes, so on and so forth. So we're going to just model this. Now, what I said in the last video is we're actually going to use this piece as our stepping stone for the clip. And it's just as simple as doing a quick copy and paste into this document. Okay, so under Part Studio 2, I've got my decorative piece. I'm actually going to open up my sketches and I'm going to bring up a third sketch. So I've got sketch 3, and then I'm going to say use for my clip. Use. Okay. And then, oh, it's grumpy. Sketch did not regenerate properly. I did select a plane. Maybe I can't name it. We'll just call it sketch 3. Sketch plane, front sketch, or front plane. Okay, good to go. I am going to open back up both of my sketch 1 and sketch 2. We're going to try and use some lines on sketch 3. Okay, so we did this last time where I'm going to use my use tool. For this drawing, when I make this for the clip, I want the majority of the lines that we used. Okay, so we ended up using this line, and this line is extrudes. We used this line to revolve, and we used that line as well as this line just for our width overall. And then the key is also making sure that you get your spline, because we want that exact same curvature once we are ready to put things together. Okay, and I'll show you actually that in the assembly what that's going to look like. So I'm just going to double check, make sure I've got the sketches that I need, and I shut off sketches 1 and 2. I'm done with them. I'm just double checking to make sure that I've got everything that I need. Perfect, I do. Okay, I'm going to open sketch 3 back up. I'm going to box select all of the lines. I'm going to hit Control C for copy. Go into my next Part Studio, start a new sketch, front view or front plane. Don't want to see any of these. I want to view normal 2 or sketch 1. And we're just going to paste it in. Simple as that. I think it makes things a lot easier if you just line them up to the origin. And remember, if you are using the tool to move, you have this weird kind of cursor just like this where I have to drag on both of those positions. It's called transform. It's not as simple as just like grabbing something and moving it. You literally have to transform it. And then you'll see this cursor with my mouse, and the left check mark is highlighted green with a check mark. My left click button on my mouse. Goodness. So once that's set up, I'm going to double click my left cursor, move back out. Looks great. And I'm going to just do a quick extrude. So I'm going to extrude this piece. Nope. Actually, what's nice is we could do a revolve. And I'm going to revolve not that part because this is not what we need, but we do need this part. And we're going to revolve it around that point. I see my mistake. Not that simple. Just kidding. Got to go back. We are going to revolve this whole thing, and then we have to cut it. Okay, we do have a pretty ugly line going, so we'll fix that here in a second. But then we will make a new sketch. We're going to add our spline from the last one, so we're going to be able to use that one once I select a plane. Use this spline, and then instead of cutting this way, we're going to cut around this way. Perfect. Okay, extrude, remove, symmetric, make it big boy because this is a massive pen, 10 inches long. Good to go. That's our piece. You'll notice there's this big ugly line in the way. It's because I had that split down the middle when I revolved it. All you have to do is just grab both pieces and look for the infinity symbol. The infinity symbol up here is called a Boolean. And Boolean is basically just like putting things together or removing certain things. So this would be an alternative. Instead of creating two different pieces, I could have the pen in two different parts using that spline. Another way of doing the same thing. So I'm going to unionize both of those. And should have gotten rid of, nope. Did not regenerate properly. We want to, it is a union, but it's just giving us that bizarre line. So I wonder if I just go into sketch 1 and just delete that guy, since we already have our spline. Perfect. Okay, now we're ready for our clip. Clip is kind of interesting. We're going to need to do it in a couple different parts. And we're going to try and mesh things as best as we possibly can. It may not necessarily be something that we can end up using. I'm realizing that I deleted the lines that I used for this and it's getting kind of grumpy. So I should probably backtrack just to make sure that that doesn't go away. Okay, so that line's in there for now. Why don't we take this, copy, paste. I'll just put it right over the top of each other. Very roundabout way of doing that. That makes it happy, I guess. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a couple different things. We're going to try and merge that clip onto this part, and we're going to do it in two phases. Now, this is kind of like the early way of doing some 3D modeling as far as like sculpting. I'm going to do it in two planes. In the future, you may end up getting into some situation that feels like you're using Blender to create different surfaces on different planes that are not parallel to your top, front, and right side. We'll get there eventually. So what I'm going to do is just start again with a new sketch. Actually, let's do the top view first. So to do the top view, I'm going to create the profile of the pen from this top section. So if I'm looking down on this part, I'm going to make that profile of that pen. So it's kind of like that really elongated teardrop shape or oval shape that's got some points. And we're going to need to make sure it merges with this spot up here. So if I'm looking, I've got a certain width from the top. It looks very symmetric about the center. So we may need to include some center lines, but the first thing that we need to do is create a new sketch plane. I cannot create a sketch on this surface right here that I need. So what we need to do is actually create a plane above our clip. So I'm going to kind of rotate the view, and we're going to do a new plane just like this. This is just the plane tool where you're making your brand new plane. So instead of using the top plane over and over again, I'll literally make a plane that's parallel to that top plane. So I'm just going to click plane on the top. You'll notice that it immediately creates a new plane. And then I'm going to zoom out and try and ballpark about where I want this plane to start. And then we're going to extrude down. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, so I got up this plane above. So now I can start a new plane. And I'm going to view normal to. and we're going to just go ahead and start sketching. So if you remember, I want to actually have this be right through the very center of my part. So I pretty simply am just going to start with a line down the middle. We'll just use the mirror tool again. So then I'm going to recognize that there might be an intersection point there. So I'm going to try and get to this spot to the best of my ability. I might have to come down just a hair as well, but we'll call it like about right there. Go across till we're about there. That's a good spot. And that's our reference for that edge. Now I'm going to make my spline. Try and figure out this teardrop shape. Might look something kind of like this. All right, I'm back. So then I'm going to get to the spot where it kind of looks like it gets sharp and hooks, and then I want to line that up with the very end, or the very center. Perfect. Then I might kind of sharpen that up just a hair. This one out just a hair. That looks pretty fat. Let's narrow this up just a bit. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay. Just like we did with other parts, let's go ahead and mirror it. So I'm going to do a mirror. Select the line to mirror. Cross that guy. Entities. I'm going to mirror that. Perfect. Looks good. Okay. Now we're going to extrude down. So we'll hit extrude. Grab that guy, come down, kind of do intersect a little bit. We'll need to recut this interior at some point, but we want it just such that it's touching that top part. So let's switch back to front. Double check our clip, wherever I put it. Double check, make sure that looks okay. So it looks pretty good. Only thing that I might want to change is figure out how I can cut this straight across, because it seems like that's how that works. We can do a couple different cuts. See if that works. It's going to work a little bit better. So we could cut from this perspective. We'll worry about that later. Okay. So now that I've got that cut, we now need to, or extruded, we now need to make our profile along this side. So you'll notice that if I do a symmetric cut, we should be able to get the profile of the clip going this way, okay? So I'm going to do a new sketch. I believe it's still on front view, and we'll go ahead and start doing a rough idea of what our spline might look like. So I would like to try and keep most of that intact. We're going to start, let's say, right there. Kind of start to work on our profile. So it's got a nice just arc to it. Don't have to go all the way up if I don't want, but it should look pretty good. And then if I'm looking, there's kind of a little knob on this end, so it's sharp, and then kind of knobs, comes back in, and then it's pretty thin just throughout the rest of it. Did get a little thin spot there. Trying to get a thick spot there, and then finish out about there. Cool. Looks pretty good. Now we need to do like what we did with our decorative piece here, and we're just going to draw some lines to cut that out a little bit better. So zoom in real tight. I actually don't like the position of that. Let's put that on the corner. Perfect. So then I'm going to get a line. Make sure I don't cut too much. We'll need to get rid of most of this anyways, so. Snapped on that one, but not on this one. Interesting. Let's make it parallel to that guy. It comes down to there. It goes to there. Okay. Looks pretty good. And then pretty simply, just going to remove. Symmetric. Both directions. Oh! Missed a little bit. Shoot. Sketch 4. Front view. Zoom it in. Let's do that. Perfect. All right, try that one more time. Okay, so we got some work to do there still. Totally fine. So we can go ahead and start kind of cleaning up some different things too. One thing that I am going to try and do at a certain point, I notice that if I cut all the way down, it's going to leave kind of a weird gap right there, which is not ideal. So what I'm hoping to try and figure out at some point is to see if I can readjust certain things such that this revolve doesn't come until a little bit later. So if I remove this and come down just like that instead, then it messes everything up and I don't have anything. Sketch 2 is hidden. Because this one needs to come down here like that. Okay, so that's a direct correlation there. That shouldn't matter. We'll just kind of do new. Merge with all. Hey, look at that. Looks pretty good. Pretty good. Okay, last few things. Oop, missed a little spot there. So then it'd be pretty easy for us to go through and try and change a couple things to make it look a little bit cleaner. So on not that sketch, on this sketch, looks like we could, not the extrusion, on sketch 4, Could probably change a couple things to make this come up a little bit higher and see what happens there. What happens if I trim? Oop, can't trim that one, I guess. So I need to bring this up just like that. Yikers. What did I do? I was trying to get rid of that. So this needs to be cut more. Let's just redo this line. Yeah, I'm getting a little bit closer. So then you can kind of see how you can spend a decent amount of time just kind of tweaking things to make them perfect. So the last little thing that I would do is I would do a fillet over these two edges just to make them a little bit nicer so they don't have that aggressive line. Fillet, not fillet. It's not a fish. Grab your fillet. Grab your fillet. Click both the lines that you want to fillet. And it should just give it a nice little round. Now that's a little, pretty small round. If it gives you an error, it's easy to make this too big. So if I did a 1-inch fillet on this one in particular, it might not work. And it just give us an error. Yeah. So it didn't regenerate properly. It's because it's too big. So then instead of a 1, let's maybe do a half. Not 1.5, a 1/2. Still doesn't like that. Did work on 1/8, so let's do a 1/4. Still doesn't like that. Okay. Guess we're stuck at 1/8. There you go.